Welcome again to Japanesey. In this programme I'll be unravelling the mysteries of the Japanese tea ceremony and learning the art of how to cook teppanyaki at a teppanyaki restaurant in the West End. But first I'm going to show you how to make a classic Japanese tempura. Tempura is a deep fried dish, and for today's recipe I'm going to show you how to make tempura of prawns. But to start with I'm going to make the dipping sauce. What we have here is some ginger. And I've put my ginger in my garlic press because we just want the juice from the ginger. So if you press it hard, I don't want all the fibre, but just the juice. There we are. Ginger juice and soy and mirin and sugar. So this will be a slightly spicy sauce with just a hint of sweetness and some salt. Very simple. Very easy, like so many of these Japanese recipes, very straightforward. Now for the batter, I'm going to use two different flours, corn flour and wheat flour into the bowl, a pinch of salt, no sugar in this one, a pinch of salt, an egg, and then some very cold water. Now the water has to be icy cold, and the idea is that you mix it just until the ingredients are almost combined, but the batter is still lumpy. Right, now I'm just going to test and see if my oil is hot enough here. Yep, that looks good. See, it rises straight back up to the surface. Okay, and then this is very simple. You just dip the prawn into the oil, into the batter. Getting confused. Drain it off and into the pan. Into the batter, drain, and into the pan. Now then, you'll see they've been only in there for moments. They really don't take any time at all to cook. And one of the things you're going to have to get used to with tempura is that this tempura is a very pale batter. So you're not looking for the sort of crispy cod fries batter here. This is a very white batter, and it's white because of the corn flour that we used. So I'm going to put those down. I'm going to do a few of my onions for my garnish. So again, put the onions in the batter, and then try and sprinkle them over, because you put them all in together, they'll just cook in a batch. So. And they really only take moments, 30 seconds, 45 seconds. There we go. As I say, you can tempura almost anything in the fish line. Little goujons of sole would look very nice. Pieces of monkfish are good. And then just to add the green freshness, some unfried spring onion. So there we go. Tempura of prawn. My second recipe today also begins with the tea, teriyaki, a classic Japanese way of cooking food in the oven, coated with a hard lacquer-like sauce. And guess what's in the sauce? We've got sake or dry sherry or white wine, soy and mirin. And first of all, I'm going to make the marinade. I'm going to use salmon for this recipe, but they also do chicken teriyaki and even pork teriyaki. Into the dish go my fillets of salmon. I'm going to pour on soy sauce, the mirin, and the dry white wine. While that's marinating, and it really should be in the marinade for an hour, I'm going to begin to make my dipping sauce, which will be served with the final dish. And for this, I'm going to, in this saucepan, heat some sesame oil. Now, you won't often find people cooking in sesame oil, but this recipe does call for it. And put in some shallot and some ginger, and just begin to get those frying off, just to sort of sweat them down a bit to get all those aromatic flavours into the sesame oil. If this was smell-o-vision, you'd be able to smell now that all the lovely flavour of sesame is just wafting off this saucepan. That just needs to sort of sit on quite a low heat. Out comes the salmon onto my baking sheet. This is going to be baked in a hot oven, about 400 degrees Fahrenheit, 200 centigrade, gas mark 6, for 20 minutes. Pour my marinade ingredients into the sauce. And that will just come up to the boil and simmer away there until it becomes really thick. Right, my sauce has reduced down nicely now, and I'm going to put in some sugar, the obligatory sugar in all these dishes. And that can just come off and sit for a moment while I stir fry my lettuce. Put it over here. Okay, so on goes the pan, whack up the heat, and put in just a little bit of this groundnut oil. You won't find any olive oil in Japanese cooking. They just don't use olive oil. That's very Mediterranean. This is all groundnut oil, vegetable oil, corn oil would do. And you can hear already that it's beginning to sizzle. I'm just going to cook this until it wilts. There, you see that's looking beautifully lacquered. And it hasn't stuck to my lovely Teflon paper. So this goes down here. And it's time to start serving up the dish. And then on with the salmon. To finish, I just need a spoonful of sauce. And there you have it, salmon teriyaki with ginger dipping sauce. I'd originally wanted to show you a Japanese tea ceremony, but then I found out that they take weeks to prepare and 4 hours for the whole ceremony to take place. It's a very spiritual occasion, but so as to try and understand a little more behind the tradition of Japanese tea ceremonies, I've asked Alex Fraser here to introduce me to the way of the tea, or the way of tea.
That's right, the way of tea.
The way of tea.
Now what you say is true, but in fact tea is a very simple thing also, and it allows you to engage aesthetic, spiritual and social interests all together. And in a place like this, in a restaurant sitting with your friends, it's possible to do something that's very simple and only takes maybe 10 or 20 minutes.
The tea ceremony is traditionally Japanese, but I believe the tea originally came from China.
That's right, tea drinking originated in Sung Dynasty China and came across to Japan with Zen Buddhism. And after that it became a rather raucous pastime for the courtiers and the high-up people. But from the 15th century on it became more spiritualized and was perfected by Sen no Rikyu in the 16th century in the Momoyama period.
Is it a Buddhist ceremony?
Its origins are in Buddhism, and they say that tea and Zen have the same flavor. But what the present Grand Master of my tradition of tea says is that it's not a religion, and anybody can come and practice tea, and it's a place where you can manifest what you believe in.
Right, well perhaps you could just introduce me to your equipment.
Okay, so well, most of all we have a source of hot water.
Right.
And on the tray we have a tea bowl, and there's a linen cleaning cloth in there, a tea whisk, which is made from a single piece of bamboo, a tea scoop, again, very simple thing made from bamboo, and a container for tea, which is in black lacquer. And this kind of procedure is one that you learn as a beginner, but stays as a useful and meaningful thing forever. The things themselves aren't really important, they're just containers.
Right, so it's actually the tea, or the drinking of the tea, or the sharing of the tea.
I think it's sharing the tea and sharing the time and bringing one's attention to what is in effect a very simple act, the making and serving of tea to somebody else. But by bringing a certain special mindfulness to it, we're able to elevate it somehow and make it spiritual.
Right, well, if you could perhaps...
Okay, so if I just explain first that now that the utensils have been brought in, first of all they are purified, and then tea is made, and then after you've had your tea, I will re-purify the utensils and then take them out again. It's a very simple cycle, like the cycle of the seasons.
Excellent.
So although this tea is a green powder, it's the same plant that our normal tea comes from.
Why is it so green?
Well, tea only turns black or dark brown because of the action of the enzymes that's in it. So the Chinese and the Japanese discovered that if you steam the tea before you dry it, it maintains the green colour.
Oh, so that's the only reason that the tea is green rather
That's
than
right.
black. Gosh, it looks so much prettier.
I think so.
That wasn't a deeply unspiritual thing to say, but
Not
it
at
does
all.
look lovely.
I think if it's not a pleasurable experience, it's no experience at all. So there are 4 principles in the way of tea. There's a wa, kei, sei, and jaku. Harmony, respect, purity, and tranquility. And it's by practicing harmony with other people, with the seasons of nature, and with aesthetic things, with practicing respect for other people, and also inanimate things, and practicing purity in what we do. You saw me purifying these utensils. But we try and achieve a little tranquility in our life.
Thank you. Now, how do I
Okay.
drink this?
So if you take the bowl with your right hand and
Yes.
place it on the flat of your left hand,
Yes.
and then make a kind of gesture of thanks to whatever you believe in, and then make 2 quarter turns of the bowl, and then just drink it. Now this turning of the bowl isn't very important, but what it does do is bring your attention into what you're doing. And all the actions in the ritual of making tea are meant to draw our attention together.
And do I just take one sip? When would I pass this on if there's someone sitting next to me?
For
Or
this
is from-
frothy tea, this is all for you.
It's all for me. Gosh. It's quite an extraordinary flavour. I don't think I've ever... The whole thing is quite extraordinary. I mean, it is amazingly sort of tranquil, and I feel quite different inside here. It's, yes. Now then, put it down, or do I drain the cup before I put it down?
As
I'm
you
quite
like.
happy. I mean,
If you want to finish it, finish it. If not, you
I wasn't sure whether there was some etiquette involved in leaving some. So now put it down here. This, or do I turn it again?
can ideally yes, turn it back.
I'll turn it back. 1, 2, and put it there. Gosh, thank you.
It's my pleasure.
That was extraordinary. Thank you very much indeed.
Welcome back. Well, after learning about the formalities of the Japanese tea ceremony, I've come to something much, much more relaxed. I'm at London's Benihana, a teppanyaki restaurant in the West End.
Benihana restaurants started in New York. One restaurant was opened in the 1960s by Mr. Rocky Aoki, who named the restaurant after a small red flower that grew outside. That's what Benihana means, red flower. Benihana is a specialist teppanyaki restaurant as opposed to what many people think we are, a Japanese restaurant. Our speciality is based on a teppanyaki style of cooking.
Well, now it's my turn for the very special Benihana special. And I'm sitting here at my teppanyaki table, and Pascal is going to be my chef for this evening, isn't it? Yes. Oh, thank you. And Mama Sa has brought my salad, because we start each meal with the onion soup and then a salad.
That's
and what do I have next?
So tonight we're going to be cooking Benihana special, so which is a combination of seafood and steak. And of course, in the beginning, it's going to be appetizer, prawn appetizer, fried rice. Shall we start?
I think we should. Yes.
Yes, why not?
You've got a very interesting cart over there with all your...
Yeah, that's my kitchen, yeah?
Yeah.
I got all my sauces here, and salt, pepper, soya sauce, butter, everything is here. So this is a sunflower oil, just a little bit. This is our appetizer, which is onion, courgette, green beans, and prawns. The prawns are tiger's prawns, we call them, yeah? Onions in here. That's it. Green beans, courgette in here. And that's your prawns. Everything is here. Oop.
How long have you been cooking?
4 years, madam.
4 years. Do you still have all your fingers?
Yes, madam, hopefully. I got 6. One Japanese, you know what I mean? Oop, we take the tails here. That's prawns here. Oop. So everything is ready, just salt and pepper now. Now I'm going to use a little bit of butter here for my courgette and a little bit for my prawns. The courgette I'm going to marinate it in butter and soya sauce. Here.
It's the first time I've seen butter used.
In Japanese restaurant, indeed, madam. And a bit of lemon for my prawns. This is your prawns,
This is
madam.
my prawn appetizer.
A prawn appetizer, and the green beans in here.
Oh, gosh, it looks lovely.
And for the onions, I'm going to use a little bit of butter, a little bit of sesame seeds, and soya sauce. And this is your onions.
That looks wonderful. So this is my
This is your
Benihana
appetizer.
prawn appetizer. Starter.
That's right, madam.
A typical Benihana meal consists on a 6-course meal, which is a soup, a salad, prawn appetizer, rice, as well as Japanese green tea. That will go together with a main course, which would be either seafood, meat, or a combination of both. Teppanyaki is very much westernized, but it comes from a very ancient Japanese tradition where a family will sit around a stove. What Mr. Aoki did was lift the stove and build a table around it. Chefs are thoroughly trained at Benihana. We actually take care of the training they undergo. It takes about a year for a chef to actually come out and cook for people.
So now it's the lobster.
Yes, madam. Yep,
Excellent.
indeed. And the claws.
And that's raw lobster, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Pepper. Oops. A little bit of salt. And I'm going to use the steamer. A little bit of white wine, just to steam it, yeah?
That's just cooked without any other seasoning, just the salt and pepper.
And of course steam with my steamer here.
Steamed with the steamer, yes, so that'll
Sort
give
of
it...
microwave, madam, for a minute. Then it's going to be... Now I have to remove this meat from here.
Yes.
Make sure I cut and everything comes.
Very good.
What I need now is just a little bit of butter. So same, and a bit of lemon.
Excellent.
Just to keep the taste of a lobster. And saute it there. Cheers. And put it back. There we go, your lobster, man.
Wow. The lobster tastes wonderful, and it's a speciality of Benihana that they serve it in the shell to get all that extra flavour in. While I finish this, Pascal's going to cook me a steak.
Oh.
Nice and lean.
Ah, yeah. Oops.
Because there's not very much oil used in this cooking, is
No.
there? So it can be quite healthy.
That's it, madam, yeah. Very, very.
And with all the vegetables cooked quite
Yes, madam.
quickly.
That's a bit of mushrooms in here.
Now you're only cooking just for me now, and we've still got to shop. You normally cook for how many people at a time?
So 8 people to 10, madam.
8 to 10. Just on this one.
Yeah, usually they order 8 main courses. So instead of 1 steak here, it's going to be 8 steak, or it depends.
That must keep you. Well, what if they've got one person with steak and one with fish and one with? You cook them all together?
Yeah. So Benihana, we always start to cook. So as you saw, appetizer, prawn appetizer. Then after it's a rice for everybody. It depends, the fried rice or the steamed rice. And after, of course, we start always by seafood first.
Yeah.
Then we serve for everybody seafood. Then after it's going to be meat. In the meat, we select the chicken first, then after steak and the filet mignon. So this is our specialty. And in the end, you have to serve the bean sprouts for everybody. That's our way to say bye-bye.
So it's pretty hot going when you're
Yes.
when you've got 10 people around here and you're cooking a different main course.
That's
for all
right,
of them.
madam. Yeah. Speed, you have to watch this customer, watch another one, everybody. You have to care. That's why I used to have a badge, TLC. It's tender, loving care.
Ah.
I have to give everything for my customer. Your steak is ready,
Ready?
madam.
Excellent.
Yes.
Right, well, I'm going to move my lobster over there.
Yes, madam.
And the steak's coming up now.
And in here.
Yes.
So, of course, here I'm gonna serve for you the bean sprouts, which takes
Excellent.
about 30 seconds to be
About
cooked.
30 seconds back.
And for you, madam, it's gonna be special tonight. I'm gonna use my shakers, my Japanese shakers. This is salt inside. You can see salt. Another one is pepper, madam. So I'm gonna do it Japanese way. I mean,
Okay.
Benihana way, yeah? Whoop. Salt. Pepper. Whoop. That's it, madam, for you. Thank you very much.
Very well done.
Thank you.
Very well done indeed.
Your bean sprouts ready, madam?
That looks
In here, madam.
fantastic. Absolutely marvellous. Well, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you, Pascal, very much. And you all join us next time for Japaneasy.